Ladies and gentlemen, Binnall of America!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Tim Binnall.
No commercials, no subscriptions, no network, no rules. And at the end of the day, my friends, no comparison. Welcome to another edition of BOA The Revival. Should be a very enlightening and fun conversation here this week on the program. Our guest is Valerie Lofaso. She is an empathic medium and paranormal investigator, kind of a fixture of the New Hampshire scene in a lot of ways. She's been in the New Hampshire paranormal scene for quite a while, and I ran into her. She's good friends with our friend, Mike Stevens, of Granite Sky, who was a big-time UFO researcher up in New Hampshire. We had him on a couple years ago to talk about the Exeter event, and as luck would have it, I was at the Exeter event earlier this month, but it's now October, so in early September or late August now, I don't even remember. It's been a while. And I had the chance to talk to Valerie for a while. Let's cut to the chase. So we had a long and good conversation there in the alcove of the Exeter Town Hall. And I said, I got to get Valerie on the show. We'll talk about her work and her life and her experiences. And here we are. So welcome to the show, Valerie. It was great chatting with you in Exeter, and I'm looking forward to bringing it to the Binnall of America listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. And your website, I should say, before we get going, is The Wyrd Place. And I want to make sure we spell this right. It's THEWYRD place.com. So Wyrd is spelled WYRD. So, we start out with the first-time guest, the bio, the background. Who is Valerie Lofaso, and how'd you get mixed up in all this?
Well, I am a lifetime experiencer of weird things and being weird myself. But my real passion is writing. And I started writing ghost stories. That was, a kind of a combination of all of the weird things I experienced. I loved reading ghost stories. I hunted for every ghost story I could find as a kid, and decided that I should be, trying to do that myself. And I got a rejection from a publisher for my first book that told me, good story, but it needed more bite. And, first of all, it's unusual to get actual constructive criticism from a potential publisher. So I took it seriously and said, okay, well, what can I do to get more bite? And I thought, well, maybe I should go out and, experience more ghosts, in my life and try to join an investigative group. That led me to the Seacoast Paranormal Research Group, SPRG, which still exists today. It's a casual discussion group. We meet once a month for dinner and just, talk weird stuff, ghost stuff, UFO stuff, Bigfoot stuff, or whatever else we want to talk about. But that led me to Mike Stevens and Andy Kitt at the time had their own investigative team that was called KRI. And I ended up investigating with them. And that just opened all of the rabbit holes for me, that I'm sure you talk about all the time. When you go down one rabbit hole, you find 1,000 more rabbit holes down there. Joining the investigative team, it wasn't just investigating ghosts. Mike was dealing with the UFO stuff. He was working with people, so I got drawn into that side of things that the team had a medium, so I learned how to develop my own intuitive skills. Yeah. Even though I'd had experiences as a kid, I never thought I was actually a medium, so that joining that group really kind of changed everything for me, opened up a whole new world. I was able to investigate and research and put a lot of this into my books while experiencing it myself and working with other people and helping other people as well, living and dead.
Yeah. So you found that bite, if you will.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Yeah, we should mention you've written a series of books, Tangled Web of Friends.
Yeah.
Right. That's your series. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And it's paranormal fiction. Technically, it's considered young adult, but I think most of my readers are adults. The majority of my followers are, my age or older, which I love because I love reading young adult as well. But the premise is there's, it focuses on 4 friends, one of which suddenly comes across this ability of hers to be able to see and talk to dead people. And the series follows her and her friends as she tries to figure out what that means for her, how to manage it, how it affects the people around her, how she can help people. But it kind of oozes onto the people around her as well, because everybody has intuition. So through her friends and family discover their own abilities as well.
Yeah. Now, you are described here as an empathic, and I stumbled over that first saying it first because I was just completely foreign to me in a way. I mean, I'm kind of vaguely familiar with the concept of empaths, but maybe enlighten me a little further and the audience here. What is an empath? And let's just start with that. Let's just start the basics, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So an empath is a person who is highly attuned to the energies of anything and everything around them. We tend to be the outcasts. We tend to be the feelers, the sensitive people, the ones that, cry because there's, roadkill in the road or the sad commercial on TV. We feel the emotions of people. We feel the energy of the world. Because everything on the planet has energy, we have the potential to have it absorbed into us and affect us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this like a psychic thing, or is this sort of a personality trait?
I believe it's something that people are born as, but it does delve into intuition. And that was something that it took me a long time to understand myself, because we can feel the energy. It means we can interpret it. We can communicate with it. And that's why I call myself an empathic medium, because I can receive messages from the various energies to pass on to people or to help me in investigations or that sort of thing.
And when you receive these messages, how do they come and how do you receive them?
Yeah, that's a really complicated question to answer, because generally I feel it first as different sensations in my body. It can come in images. It does come as full-bodied apparitions sometimes.
Really?
It's taken me a long time to understand that it could come in any way, and I have to be really paying close attention to figure out if it's a message that I need to interpret or not.
All right. Yeah. So you just get kind of a feeling, and then you're like, you have to recognize it, I guess, that you're getting a message in a sense.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes they're very big and obvious, and sometimes they're really subtle.
Give me an example of big and obvious, and then subtle if you can.
Sure. So big and obvious is easy because a few weeks ago, I went with some friends to Wilson Castle in Vermont.
Oh, love Wilson Castle.
Yes, a lot of people know that place. Well, I had a visceral reaction to that place where I didn't even want to step foot in it. And I don't have reactions like that.
Wow.
And
really?
Generally, if I have a reaction like that, then I want to go and explore because there's a reason for it. But this place, I was ready to call an Uber and go get a hotel room, be like, you guys have fun. I'm going away. But I didn't. I went inside and I investigated with the team and spent the night there. And it was horrible. Every second of the night for me was horrible. So that was a message, but I still don't fully understand why yet, because like you said, you love that place. The people I was with had no issues. I know lots of other people who've been there, and nobody has had this experience. So I'm not really sure what was going on there, but I couldn't ignore it. It just affected me physically and energetically.
Yeah, that's really strange because it, like, I mean, maybe I am an empath. I don't know. Maybe like you were saying, everybody seems to have a little of it or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, because and all the people I've talked to, there's almost a weird sense of like positivity around Wilson Castle and sort of this love and sort of like it's got less of a dark history than a lot of these other places. So it's not like an asylum or a jail or whatever. It's like
Right.
it's a castle, and it's kind of like got this quirky sort of eccentricity to it. So I'm really surprised to hear that you had that kind of reaction to it. But I guess, and you don't know why that would happen.
Not quite yet. I'm thinking I probably need to go back. Probably not for an overnight, but, maybe go back just for a tour, just to kind of be in the energy of the house again.
Yeah.
And see if I can maybe focus this time, being aware that it's going to affect me this way. Because that's one of the things of being an empath is when you have so much energy coming at you, it's really easy to be overwhelmed by it.
Right.
And that can lead to health issues and shutting down and all kinds of things. So I think if I go in with awareness, maybe I can figure it out. And I'm kind of thinking it might be personal for some reason where nobody else seems to have this reaction but me, that maybe there's something there in particular for me that I need to figure out.
Interesting. Now, do you think you can figure something like that out, or is it just like a vibes thing?
I mean, I think it's possible. I think it's worth exploring. It's never guaranteed, but I'm too curious. I identify with cats that way. I'm very curious, and I just want to find out if I can. So,
and how did that feel? Like sort of like almost like a panic attack?
No, it was a really bizarre thing. Like I'm looking at this building, like stepped out of the car, I'm looking at this building and I'm just like, everything, like my whole entire body just was like frozen.
Weird.
Like, I don't want to go in there.
Well, you're lucky you went in, because I took an Uber home from Wilson Castle once.
Yeah.
and in that area of Vermont, I think there's maybe 2 Ubers, period.
Yeah.
So, and if they're not working, you're shit out of luck.
Right.
You should have seen the guy come down the road with no streetlights or whatever, and he's pulling up to this fucking castle. He probably thought he was going to get murdered by me or something. I was like, no, dude, I just need to ride back to my hotel in Rutland. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So what's a more subtle instance where you get these kind of messages? If you
Yeah. So a more subtle instance might be, during a reading, because I do one-on-one readings for clients, where, well, actually, a better example would be, a couple years ago, I was having dinner, with a couple friends, and sitting there at dinner, and I kept getting the chills on the right side of my body. And I was like, what is happening? And then I went, oh yeah, that's a sign that there's something approaching me, an energy approaching me. It's very subtle, it just kind of feels a little bit like a tickle, little goosebumps. So it took me a minute, and I could have easily ignored it because it was just very subtle and I wasn't looking for it. We were just having dinner, we were hanging out, we weren't talking anything paranormal. But I was able to eventually focus and figure out that one of the friends had an uncle who'd recently passed away that wanted to communicate with him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You find that happens a lot?
No.
Okay.
Nope, not to me.
All right. So you're not like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost.
No. Sometimes I wish I was. Other times I'm glad they're not harassing me all the time.
Yeah. So you're an empathic medium. What's the medium part now? You said you were hanging out with a medium, and that kind of turned you on to developing the gift, if you will.
Yeah. So basically, like the, easy textbook textbook definition of a medium is a person that can communicate with dead people.
Right.
So that is something I can do using my empath sensitivities. So it's just connecting to conscious energy as opposed to residual energy, as opposed to fortune telling type stuff, which is more psychic, which I can do some of that as well, but I tend to do more of the conscious energy communications.
Interesting. Okay. And how would you suggest people, like you were around this medium that helped you develop, how can people develop better their psychic skills, if you will?
First, they need to pay attention and be open-minded to it. You know, they don't have to believe that everything is intuition, but being open to the possibility that something they experience might be an intuitive message is a good place to start. You know, at least saying, okay, that could have been something. So let me write it down and see if something like this happens again. Because a lot of people think it has to be, you know, a big, bright, shiny, huge event, you know, to make them believe in it. And it doesn't always work that way. You know, it's often subtle. It's not often the big, giant, flashing neon sign. You know, but practicing, doing exercises, you know, finding a medium who teaches classes. There's books, there's websites that have different exercises that you can do to help develop your intuition. And there's a lot of good stuff out there. And it's trying different things. Getting validation is probably the most important thing, you know, because like when I was picking up on that guy's uncle, you know, there has to be a way to get validation so you know you're not crazy.
Right.
You know? So it's finding those little pieces of information that solidify who the energy is, you know, that individualizes them, you know.
Gotcha, yeah. So did you, in that instance then, were you like, hey, stop the dinner? Does anyone know who this spirit next to me might be? How do you broach that at a dinner party?
I mean, fortunately, the people at the table were open to this stuff. You know, it is something that we have talked about before. So, I was able, before I opened my mouth, I knew who this person was coming through for. So I was able to say, hey, Dwight, so there's a guy here. I think it's your uncle who wants to talk to you. Are you okay with that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How'd you discern that? Just comes into your head?
Yeah, you know, through feeling the energy, I ask, you know, what can you show me or what can you tell me that will help him know who you are? And it was some of the physical description of who, like what he looked like, along with like a military connection. And I think that solidified it for him.
And what did Dwight say?
He was very open to it. He was excited. It was like he was very close with this uncle. The uncle had passed away very suddenly, in a very kind of bizarre way.
Yeah.
So he was happy to hear from him.
And then did you like facilitate communication between them while you're sitting there at the dinner table?
Yes.
How'd that work?
Yeah. He had a personal message for Dwight to kind of encourage him in his life. So I was able to pass that on to him, and then he went away and we finished up what we were doing.
Wow. Okay. I hope you don't, because I've had mediums on before, and I sometimes think they think I don't believe them, but it's like, I'm just interested in the mechanics of this. So I'm not trying to like trip you up on any.
No, and I didn't think you were. And
right.
I don't expect everybody to believe that what I do is legit. You know, it's not for me to convince anybody. I'm just doing what I do, you know?
Right. Yeah.
People are allowed to believe or not believe. So.
Right. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. So you weren't like, oh shit, what kind of show did I get mixed up in? It's like, I'm just really kind of like interested in how this works and that kind of thing. Cause it's unfathomable to me because I don't necessarily haven't developed those skills, so to speak. So I do believe that everybody probably has these gifts, but it's been kind of like culturally bred out of us over eons.
Right. Yeah,
just
exactly.
like recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Don't believe what your gut is telling you. Believe what the people on TV are telling you. That's what our culture is telling us right now. So, and it works different, for everybody. Like, I'm not like the mediums on TV and in the movies and all of that. So, I think that's the case for a lot of people. And that's why they don't realize that they are, able to do these things, because it's not always the way we expect.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's how it's portrayed on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah. Now, does this, when these things happen, does it take energy from you afterwards? Do you feel like worn out? Are you like, oh, I'm done after that dinner party? I need to like chill, or do you feel energized? I mean, how do you feel after that?
There's a little of both. It can be draining, depending on the situation. More positive interactions are going to be more energizing, when there is a lot of love and, positivity coming through. The draining things for me and for most empaths is going to be more like large crowds of people who all have their own energy, and whether they know it or not, they're pulling at your energy, so things like that are more draining for me than doing readings. If I was doing readings all day long, that would be tiring. But I mean, a full day of work is tiring too. So
yeah, that makes sense. Do you get people like who know you that call you up for stuff? Like, are they ever like, hey, I need you to contact my loved one or something?
Sort of. I mean, a lot of my friends do this stuff too. So sometimes we validate for each other. We'll practice on each other,
Yeah.
I do mentorships as well, one-on-one mentorships for people who are developing their intuition. So that's, I'll show them what I can do, demonstrate how it works for me, and then have them, I will call in loved ones to test them, and
interesting.
see how it works for them.
So I don't think we got a chance to talk about this really up in Exeter. So you were presenting in Exeter. What were you talking about at the event?
I talked mostly about the incident at Exeter. I looked at what life was like in 1965 when the incident happened. And I did kind of go, I don't know if it was necessarily spiritual, but, my theory on why we are still visited today by ETs. And personally, I think it's more individual than people want to believe. Like, everybody wants the ET visitations to be one big blanket message for our society. But I think the majority of the times it's more like a spirit guide coming through to change our life and get us to do something that we need to do.
Yeah. That's very interesting. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, it's all often been said. Yeah, the disclosure, the long sought disclosure is like, that's an individual thing. Like it'll happen to you, not you, but anyone, the right. Royal you or whatever, who's dead. And that will awaken you. And it's like, you don't need like the government to come out and do it or whatever. And it could come in any form and not necessarily UFOs. It could be like, you could see a Bigfoot or you could see a ghost or something.
Right.
Some transformative experience will happen to you, and you will then, have ascended in a sense, broken out of the reality that so many other people exist in.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think I said at the festival that, one of the things that, that is kind of a common theme is caring for the planet. But I don't think we can do that unless we are more human and more humane and more compassionate. And when you look at something like the Exeter UFO Festival, you have people of all walks of life coming in. Some of them are experiencers. Some of them are traumatized. Some of them have never seen anything but really want to. But they're all very open to everybody's experiences. eager to share and they're eager to listen. And I think that community is very compassionate and open, and, more human. They're connecting on a level that I think we need more of. And I do think that's part of it. When people see these amazing things that maybe they're afraid to talk about, it connects you to people in a different way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, you almost like cease to be an American or whatever, Canadian or Russian or whatever. You're like you're an Earthling, because you're like, okay, this is part of a much bigger thing. Now, do you think the UFOs and the visitors, let's call them, do you think they're actually from outer space, or do you think they're like some other kind of manifestation?
It's hard to say outer space. I think it's more multidimensional.
Okay, so some other manifestation then. Yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously, like, I do think they are from another place out there that we don't fully understand. And I don't think we fully understand space at all.
Right.
So I can't say they're not from there, but I'm not 100% convinced they are. And maybe it's a little of both.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I meant in a sense, like, and I think you kind of got what I meant, but it's like, like Buzz Aldrin of Aliens. It's like they're not really like flying in a ship and piloting and driving it around, and they're like, worrying about the sprockets or whatever on the UFO. It's like, but I do kind of believe, I've heard a lot of Native American cultures talk about the little gray people from Mars who live inside the planet. That to me is very interesting. Live inside the planet Mars.
Live inside of our planet.
Our planet. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They came from Mars and now live inside of our planet.
Yeah. Well, at the risk of tipping my hands to the listeners who were like, oh, geez, he believes. I mean, one of the ideas that I've always been enchanted by, which, I don't completely rule out, is that there's some kind of like sister world situation between us and Mars. And Mars, there was maybe some kind of traveling back and forth. Maybe there were two worlds at some point, two fully functioning, livable worlds, and something went haywire on Mars, and they all came here. I've always loved that idea. So I wouldn't necessarily rule out this Native American explanation that maybe whoever left behind went underground.
Right. And maybe and I'm not necessarily believing that you can drill into the earth and find a whole colony of, gray aliens living under our feet, but perhaps, there's so many videos of weird places of things moving in and out of the earth that, maybe there's, I hate the word portal, some type of entryway for them to pass through. And so it looks like they're coming from within our planet.
That's
but
entirely possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're hearing it from ancient cultures who've been experiencing this forever, I don't think you can brush that off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Have you had your own UFO experiences?
I have one major one when I was young.
Yeah.
And then little, sightings of weird lights in the sky pretty much since then.
Well, what's the major one?
The major one, I did talk about it a couple of years ago at the UFO festival a little bit.
All right.
Basically, I was 4 years old. My dad and I had gone out to run an errand one evening. We lived in Derry, New Hampshire, near the Wyndham border at the time. We were approaching a hill that led us to our neighborhood that, we knew very well. And there was a green glow coming from the other side of the hill. And I remember my father getting very nervous, and he had me hide behind him, so I was behind his seat on the floor of the back of the car, because he was scared as we were going up this hill. And for a very long time, that was all I remembered, was just approaching this hill and seeing this green glow. And to this day, there aren't any traffic lights on that part of the road where we were. So it was, we knew it wasn't a traffic light. But I had to do regression in 2019. I did a regression to try to find out what actually happened once we went over that hill to the other side. And it was actually, for me, it was a very beautiful experience. There was a craft that had landed in the road.
Wow.
But it was not what you usually hear about for crafts. Basically, the green glow was coming from an organic thing underneath this protective shell that was like kind of the typical, metallic kind of curved structure. But underneath was this green glowing organic structure. And that was both the craft and the entities.
Interesting.
So we stopped the car. We got out of the car. In the regression, so one of the pieces of memory that kind of came with the earlier part was like a Michelin Man type thing, but almost like a Scooby-Doo, more like a Scooby-Doo monster, if you can kind of combine the two.
Yeah.
But there was police officers there as well.
What were they doing?
They were shouting at us because we were approaching the craft, and they were like looking at this Michelin Man creature that was very large. It was like as big or bigger than the ship.
Yeah.
But I couldn't hear them. So it's almost like we were in a protective bubble of some sort. And I think the Michelin Man thing was like a distraction for the police officers.
Weird. All right.
Yeah, very, very strange.
So this thing is like a maybe like an old time, like kind of I'm imagining like a conquistador's metal helmet, and then underneath was like some kind of like thing.
Yeah, it was
shaped like a bell kind of shape.
It was more like the typical kind of
dome. Okay, a dome.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a broad dome, and then everything underneath it was just this organic green substance. When we got closer, we were somehow taken inside of that.
Oh boy!
And it was, the only way I can describe it is almost like, when you see those videos with a scope going inside the human heart. You see the chambers and the walls and things like that. It was like that, but green. Everything was like a soft green, organic color. But it was all individual pieces, but pieces of a whole at the same time. It was like that collective consciousness. So pieces could separate from the walls and interact with us. Yeah.
Okay, so I have many questions.
I'm sure.
Do you think your father had similar empathic abilities as you? Because the way he reacted to the glow from the start was like very, I don't want to necessarily say extreme, but it's like, wow, he really, as I said, I don't know if you heard it, this is very dramatic. He had reacted very dramatically to get you to get behind the seat. So it's like, okay, so maybe he has what you have in a sense where he could sense something out of the ordinary.
He passed away in 1997. I didn't know the term empath at that point, but after I learned the term, knowing what I know about my dad, he was definitely an empath as well. But he was also, this was around 1980-ish, and he was in his late 30s. He was conditioned enough at that point that to be afraid of seeing something like that, but curiosity obviously won out.
Yeah.
But his experience versus my experience in that was very different because he was afraid.
Yeah.
And I was 4. I was like, this is cool. I don't know what's happening, but I'm having a great time. And the entities were very playful with me. And they felt very loving. They felt very compassionate. They felt very empathic. And I think that is why we were there, to connect with them.
Okay, now you say your father passed away in '97. Sorry for your loss, of course. So you never had this new information to take to him. That's
Right.
It would have been great to know, or if he could have done it too, or whatever. So did he ever? Clearly, he did not necessarily need to be regressed because he was a grown adult. Did he ever say anything about that night?
No, we never talked about it. I asked my mother several years ago if he had ever mentioned anything to her about seeing a UFO, and she said no, not that she could remember.
Interesting. Yeah.
But when I did my regression, so I do have a spiritual relationship with my father.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
As a medium, I've been able to connect with him and have that connection. So when I did the regression, he showed up.
Oh, wow.
To observe.
Okay.
And so I was able to see, his experience at that time, and he was able to see my experience at that time. But let me back up just a minute. So one of the things before I decided to do the regression, when I was trying to decide did this actually happen to me? Was this a real incident? One of the clues I had was I did intuitively approach my dad to ask him about it, and he wouldn't talk to me about it. He shut down. He said, "No, I'm not talking about it."
The spirit form.
Yes, in spirit form.
Yeah. Okay.
But
oh, wow.
He was still very protective of me at that point. He was watching out for me. I was a single mom. I had, my daughter was preteen at that time. He was being very protective, and in his, to him, that he was doing what was right for me because he didn't want me to be afraid of whatever it was.
Right.
So
right. Yeah.
When I did the regression and he saw that it wasn't a scary experience for me, he apologized.
No, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now I've never talked to someone who's been regressed. So take me through that process. So who do you even go to for this? And how did they put you under and then extract this information?
So the paranormal group that I worked with, KRI, we opened a center in 2011 that had room for doing sessions, to do lectures and things like that. So through doing all of these different activities, we had a guy named Rob Stewart. He is at Inner Center Hypnosis. He had been coming in to do like group hypnosis sessions for us. And so I'd gotten to be friendly with him. I knew him. I trusted him.
Yeah.
And so I thought he would be a good person to do this. He had also done another regression for a gentleman that had been coming to the center, who had had a pretty significant encounter up in Maine at one of the bases up there, one of the military bases.
Yeah.
So I knew he knew how to do this kind of regression. So I felt like he was a good choice. So we finally nailed down a day. And I think it probably took a couple hours, and it just involves relaxing, laying on like a massage table, getting as relaxed as possible. He kind of takes you through a process to get you relaxed and get you to kind of go backwards.
Yeah.
He kind of takes you back through your life, in a very general way. And beforehand, you pick a point that you want to go to. So I had told him, I want to go to the point when my father and I go over that hill.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. He took me there. The process is like he's kind of guiding with very open questions. He's not trying to lead me anywhere in particular. He's just trying to let the story unfold, but ask enough questions that I can verbalize things, because we were recording it all.
Right. Of course.
On an audio recorder, so I can go back and listen to it later. So, that's the general process.
And so then after you have this session, are these memories now unlocked? Like, can you go back now in your mind? I guess you can, because you told me what happened. So now you can go back and remember them, I guess.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And I don't know. I assume you may have looked into this, but I don't suppose there's any indication that the police were out there at the time when this was going down. Did you even look into that at all?
I have not looked at that yet, but it is like on my kind of to-do list somewhere.
It would be interesting to see if there's anything weird that, if they want, even if it was just like in the police log, something kind of like a throwaway, like,
right.
They got a call about something that you kind of can put the time to it and go, oh, wait a minute, that was the thing.
Yeah.
When they say, oh, a dog got loose in the road and they had to go get it or whatever.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute, that's not what happened. That's the time when this happened. That would be cool to look into that.
Yeah, I definitely want to look into that. And, there were other incidents in that area, kind of not at the same time, well, similar time. I met a woman whose aunt had a craft land in her backyard in Londonderry. And where she lives in Londonderry, it was 2 miles as the crow flies from where my incident happened.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. And this woman is a born again Christian. And she told me flat out, she's like, I'm not supposed to believe in this stuff, but I know what I saw. Like, she watched this craft in her backyard. She believes for more than 15 minutes, probably closer to half an hour. And she was able to walk away from the window, go to the kitchen, which is like 3 rooms away, get her glasses because she couldn't quite see great, and go back, and it was still there. And she could see windows, and she could see beings in the windows. And and that was right around, that was either 80 or 81. She couldn't remember the exact year, but that's right around when I had my incident. In 1973, up the road about 4 or 5 miles, 2 glowing balls of light that were described to be, 2 to 3 feet in diameter, were seen over Rainbow Lake, which is pretty much a pond off of the Route 28 bypass up that way. One of them crashed into the pond. One of them flew up into the air.
Oh, wow. Weird.
Yeah.
Why is it? It feels like New Hampshire has a particularly rich UFO history, beyond even Betty and Barney Hill and the Exeter incident. Seems just like there's I don't know. It feels like there's a higher propensity for UFO activity there than where I am down in Massachusetts. Like, I was thinking the other day, it's like, I don't even think there's any signature sort of case here in Massachusetts, much less, anything particularly thrilling.
Yeah.
But up in New Hampshire, you get a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, in Massachusetts, you do have the Tom Reed thing that happened out in Western Mass.
That's true. Yeah. Well, anyone who lives in the Western Mass is like, I want to go see that thing, but it's like 2.5 hours away. It's like, that's the virtues are like
the Pike too. Who wants to drive across the Pike?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Right. I stand corrected on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's, we have a lot of waterways. We have a lot of lakes. We also have, a lot of mountains and kind of, more land, less city area.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Could it be? Do you think it could be? You think maybe it could be the no sales tax?
You never know. Who doesn't love a good bargain, tax free?
Yeah. The visitors are like, well, fuck it, we're gonna go. We're not paying extra for this TV or for this abduction. Yeah. It's like, we're not paying the abduction tax on this. We're going to get them in New Hampshire.
Right.
Much easier that way.
Yeah.
So when you were at KRI, I've read a little bit about the group. And what I love about this is that, like, and I envy this. I want to do this, but I just don't have necessarily, like, the means at the moment. But it's like you guys had like a I don't want to call it a storefront per se, but you had like a place like in a plaza next to, I assume, like, whatever you always see in a plaza, a dry cleaner, a nail salon, a dentist, a greasy spoon pizzeria place. Like, I imagine like every classic plaza, but that's what it was like, right? You had, and then it was like your guys paranormal research group.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first location that we were at in Greenland, New Hampshire was kind of a strip mall. There's a sports cards place was next door. There was a framing shop, an accountant, storage company. And it's, the things have come and gone from there since we left it. But yeah, that was more of like a traditional strip mall, but it was an L shape and we were kind of tucked in the corner. So like people had trouble finding us because we were kind of so tucked away. Like you had to really find our door that said KRI on it.
Interesting.
And then after 4 years there, we moved down the road into Stratham, New Hampshire. And that was more of like a large ranch house that had been separated into different office space. And we had half of that.
All right. So when you were in the plaza, did you ever were there like walk-ins? Did people come strolling in or like, look, I saw a UFO or I just ran into a Bigfoot or whatever? Was it like,
no, it wasn't like
okay.
It wasn't like that. If people came, they were coming for events or they were coming for a session with a particular person who was working there.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm imagining someone just barreling in, being like, I just saw a ghost. I need help. Like they're running into the dentist, like they broke.
That would have been cool, but no.
I know. And so when you were part of this group, you guys did investigations also.
Yes.
And what kind of mostly ghost investigations or UFOs or cryptids? What kind of investigations were you doing?
The majority was paranormal, so ghosts, people who had weird things happening in their homes or businesses. But with Mike Stevens, who you mentioned earlier, I would assist him sometimes with interviews and investigations on the UFO side of things. We wanted to get more into cryptozoology, but it wasn't a big draw. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a lot of involvement and we wanted more people involved.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that was a different era, right? That was like 10 or 15 years ago now?
Yeah, it was 2011 till 2019.
Okay. So about 10 years ago or so. Yeah. Well, Bigfoot, it's a little harder to investigate those because you need the Bigfoot to start in a sense, and those are, I feel like cryptids are more elusive than ghosts and UFOs.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we did try and we did have, I wouldn't call it a Bigfoot encounter, but it was an encounter with something unknown and disturbing while doing a Bigfoot hunt, sort of. So one of our attempts to get people involved in the crypto side of things was Mike did a print casting workshop, teaching people how to cast prints if they should ever find them. And he was offering up, he was going to do a drawing of names for everybody who showed up. They would be entered in to win a trip to a cabin in New Hampshire for a Bigfoot hunt with the team.
Okay.
Well, one guy showed up to the print casting workshop.
So he automatically won the contest.
That's
awesome.
Unfortunately, there were some struggles with getting everybody together and to get them where they needed to go. So he didn't end up going with us. A couple, I think one or two other team members had to drop out at the last minute. So there was four of us. It was myself and Andy Kitt, Mike Stevens, and Mike's daughter, who was, I think, like 13 at the time, came with us.
Okay. Yeah.
So we ended up hiking up to this cabin. We thought it was going to be an easy hike because that's what it said on the website, but it was for all of us who were not in shape at the time.
Yeah.
Not an easy hike up to this cabin. It was on Doublehead Mountain, I think it's called, in Jackson, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So we get up to the top of this mountain. We're exhausted. There's, this very rustic cabin at the top. The first thing we see is a rabbit, and it was an enormous rabbit, like possibly
normally?
paranormally large. Like
Really?
it was a really big rabbit.
Okay.
You know, and on the top of a mountain, it just didn't seem like there'd be enough food for this thing to get that fat. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it was a big rabbit. But it ran away. We didn't see it for the rest of the time we were up there.
Interesting.
We cooked some dinner. I think we had some burgers, waited for it to get dark, and then we sat outside. And Mike had a wireless speaker, and he played a series of supposed Bigfoot calls that had been recorded from different parts of the country. He had this on rotation. So he's playing these possible Bigfoot calls over the speaker on top of a mountain in the dark, you know, and us humans are very vulnerable up there. And it went through maybe 3 or 4 rotations of these calls. And some of the calls just like one of them, to me, I described it as it sounded like a mother searching for their lost baby.
Oh,
it was like heart-wrenching sounds.
That sounds haunting.
Yeah, it really was. So after 3 or 4 rotations of these calls, something in the air shifted. And all 4 of us felt it. And I don't know if you've met Andy Kitt, but he's one of the least sensitive people on the planet when it comes to this sort of
path with him once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah. But even he felt it. Nobody said anything at first. I think Mike's daughter and I were both like, I need to use the bathroom. And the bathrooms are like compost toilets, and they're always really far from the cabin. So you had to walk quite a ways away to go.
Oh, geez. You guys are brave. Yeah.
Yeah. So she and I went together and came back. And like, I had been feeling it. I was nervous. But when we came back from the bathroom, I think that's when one of either Mike or Andy said, is anybody else feeling that? And we're all like, oh my God, yes, it felt like something was watching us.
Well, you were insurers on the mountain. I mean, I think the rabbit was like a sentry. The rabbit was like, all right, there's people here. So everybody, everybody, you know.
Well, and I mean, playing these animalistic calls of unknown origin, you know, who knows what we're attracting out there, whether it's, you know, a flesh and blood animal that we would recognize or something else. It didn't matter. We hightailed it inside the cabin and bolted the doors.
Yeah.
Because we were terrified of whatever we were feeling. Like we felt like we were being hunted.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you probably induced a sense of confusion in whatever's out there in the forest too. Because like, yeah, if you imagine like you were up in the woods and someone started playing all these like human voices, but they're like different accents and they're saying different things. It'd be like listening to like a spirit box.
Yeah.
It'd be like a spirit box for Bigfoot. Like if it's out there, you know, or other animals that might recognize, you know, I always wonder about that. Like, does a deer recognize like another animal's call? Do they know those kind of things? So it's like, you know, maybe they're hearing all these things and it's just like all these voices of an animal that maybe they know and maybe they fear because it's Bigfoot. And it's like, but that sounds like a Bigfoot from Florida. And then they're like, that sounds like a Bigfoot from California. That's like a Bigfoot from. It's like, what is going? It's like a Bigfoot convention going on over there. Like, where all Bigfoot coming from? So I don't know. It's weird. But if you think, do you have thoughts on sort of the idea of Bigfoot as a sort of spiritual being rather than like a creature per se?
Yeah, I definitely think it's probably an interdimensional creature. It can pass through to other worlds much easier than we can. I think it can shapeshift. I think that's part of why we just, you know, they can vanish in the blink of an eye.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, they're hard to get. And it's, to me, the flesh and blood thing, I hope for it only so because it would make things so much easier in a sense. But to me, it's like that doesn't really add up with all we know about this thing and the efforts that have gone into finding it. You know, what I mean?
And there's so many sightings from all around the globe. Like, it can't all be misidentification. It just can't be. Right.
It's Bigfoot. It's I love it.
Yeah,
I'm
me
going on a
too.
Bigfoot hunt at the end of the month. So
Oh, are
see if
you?
I can, get in touch with it.
Where are you
I'm going to
going?
try in northern Georgia.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Very similar to what you're describing in a sense, but they haven't told me where we're going to go. It's like the beef thing. Oh, I don't know where in Georgia I'm even going to fucking be
Yeah,
yet.
interesting.
So I know. So what's like, you see, you've done these ghost investigations. What's like one of the more sort of earth shattering experiences you've had when you've done these things? Have you seen full body apparitions or anything particularly, insane?
Yeah. Yeah, I have seen full bodied apparitions. One of the coolest ones, Mike Stevens witnessed it as well. It was at the Button Factory in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, here where I live. Um, we were we were only able to get the part of the bottom level of this enormous old, factory building, but they had cleared out all of the artists that have lofts there now. It's all artist lofts. So we were investigating and we were setting up the equipment. We hadn't even started investigating yet. And I think there were 4 or 5 of us there. We were all in like the center hallway. And I'm pulling stuff out of a case. Everybody's, pulling stuff out, trying to figure out where are we going to set things up. And somebody walks out of one of the side rooms and starts going down the hall, walking away from us. And I think it was me that said, "Who was that?" Because I'm like, everybody on our team is right here except for Andy, who was back there. And Andy was wearing all black, and whoever I saw was wearing all white or light colored clothing.
Right.
And Mike's like, "I don't know who that was. Who was that?" So we go chasing after this person who walked down the hallway because we're like, "We need you out of the building. You can't be here. We're trying to investigate."
Yeah.
And so I saw them walk down the hallway into a wood shop that's at the end of this hallway, and they took a left turn into the room. So we go in there and look to the left, and there's nothing. There's no doors, no windows. There's a window like way on the like diagonal side, but they couldn't have gotten to that window. It wasn't open. We would have heard it. That they had completely vanished.
Wait.
Yeah. So, but it was neat having somebody else witness it as well.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, the validation.
Yeah.
That's, I'm sure, very helpful for. Because then you're not like, oh, well, maybe it was this or that, or maybe I imagined it or whatever. It's like there's someone else there who's like, yeah, you saw that too, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was a while ago. Most recently, I saw a full-bodied apparition at Pennhurst down in Pennsylvania. I'm sure you've heard of that place.
Yeah.
I was there for just like it was an open investigation, I guess you call it. There's like 100 people there that night. So it's really, really hard to seriously investigate when there's that many people there. But we were just walking around. We'd finished the tour. We were in the lower level of one of the bigger buildings, and I was with 3 other people. 2 of them had gone ahead. The third one was in front of me. So I was coming out of a room and heading down the hallway behind him, and he's passing. So there's an open door and like an open doorway, and the door itself is up against the outer wall. And I see a woman dressed in like an old-fashioned nurse's uniform, press herself up against the wall with her eyes kind of wide, like this other teammate of mine was about to walk into her, so she was trying to press herself out of his way.
Yeah.
And by the time he got past her, she was gone.
Oh, weird.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Interesting. So when you're on these investigations as an empath medium, do you find yourself, do you ever like get a direct communication from something that's like, hey, why are you here? Or what's going on? Like what happens then?
Yeah. I mean, typically if I'm going on an investigation, it's to communicate with the energy that's there, whether it's land, building, or living person. And it's so hard to describe because it tends to be individual to whatever it is that's there. Sometimes it's an easy communication. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Like, okay, I know something's here. I need you to come talk to me. Can you please come talk to me?
Right.
And sometimes equipment does help, but I tend to just use myself in an audio recorder most of the time because it's just easier for me.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask you about the equipment. I'm not a huge equipment guy myself because I'm like a Luddite, so it's kind of, I find it, tough to work with.
I think a lot of it's interesting. I just don't know enough about how it actually works to be able to trust it. I've had really interesting experiences with the SLS cameras.
Yeah.
A friend of mine has one, and we were doing some work with it. And, I couldn't see what she was picking up on the camera, but what I was describing corresponded to what she was seeing on the screen.
Oh, weird.
Whereas like there was one time I like felt something like my shoulder was hurting, and there was like, she saw a figure on, this part of my body on, standing on my shoulder or something.
With what? With what'd you say, an SLS machine?
SLS, it's like the stick figure thing. It shows the stick figures. Have you seen those?
Okay, no, I haven't seen that. Yeah,
okay. Right. Yeah, basically it's kind of like an infrared thermal camera, but it's somehow it uses technology from a video game.
Okay. To I think I've heard of
fill in these stick figures where it thinks it's picking up on a form.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So she, like, I would say I'm feeling something over here, and there would be something there on her screen that she could see, like a stick figure where I'm like
Weird.
pointing.
Yeah.
And then there was one time when we were doing this at her house. She had stuff in her house bothering her and her two children. So she asked me to come clear it, and we were using the SLS camera. And so as I was clearing this person, I think it was a female. I think I said, okay, I'm moving it along now. All right, it's gone. And she said at that time she saw the stick figure like twirling, and then it just vanished.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's video game technology. Can you trust it? I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, it's
fun.
Interesting coincidence if it's not.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. So I saw on your website also you are a Reiki 2 practitioner. So what?
I'm actually a Reiki master.
Oh, you're a Reiki master.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where I saw Reiki 2. So I didn't know there was a Reiki 2. So let's start. What is you're the first Reiki practitioner that I've spoken to on the show, as far as I know.
Okay.
So what is Reiki, and how does one become a master practitioner? So
Reiki is an energy healing practice that comes from Southeast Asia. Basically, it's using universal energy, and as a practitioner, I can help channel the energy into a person's body to help them heal or move things along. I can bring them messages that can help them heal different things. And it's hands-on most of the time. Like, you have to lay your hands on the person's body. There's exceptions, depending on the part of the body. You don't always want to lay your hands there.
Yeah.
For me, being an empath, being a highly sensitive person, sometimes there's people I don't want to touch, and I don't need to actually touch them to get the energy to go where it needs to go. So I will kind of do a hover technique. And that is, I think, it's probably like maybe 60-40 in the Reiki community of people who do hands-on versus hands-off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's moving energy through, and there's a lot of workshops out there where you can take classes to learn how to do this. It's basically getting energetically attuned from the practitioner, and then learning, the different hand positions, and, then just practicing on volunteers to test it out and see how you do, basically.
And what is the application of this? Is this for like aches and pains, or or is it diagnostic? What is, I get that it's energy healing, but how is this applied?
It's not diagnostic unless you're actually a physician. It should not be diagnostic because we don't have the authority to diagnose anybody. So
yeah, you don't want to be walking out of the strip mall and be like, yeah, I turns out I have cancer. It's like, I don't know, maybe go see a doctor. Yeah.
Well, it's the same for doing an intuitive reading. Like you never, like, even if you pick up on something like that, you can't say that to a person. You can say, I feel that you have, maybe some discomfort here around, your kidneys. You should probably go see a doctor about that. Like that's pretty much what you can say. It's the same for Reiki work. You can say where you're picking up on things that, and it's not necessarily physical stuff. It can be emotional work as well. A lot of times physical ailments do seem to be tied to emotional baggage as well, for lack of a better term.
That makes sense.
So kind of working both of those together with the energy can help move things along.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think happens when you die?
That's a great question.
Oh, I've been doing this a while. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. The longer I do this, the less certain I am that I have any clue.
Yeah.
Did you know Paul Eno?
I knew him. Yeah. He may have even been on Binnall of America back in the day, but we only briefly crossed paths. We weren't tight like a lot of the folks in the scene up here.
Yeah. So I knew him pretty well. I consider him a good friend. And, when he passed away a couple of years ago, it was devastating for our community.
Absolutely.
And I said, if anybody's going to come back and tell us what the heck is going on the other side, it's going to be him.
One would think. Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as I know, he hasn't come back and done that with anybody. I've communicated with him, but I haven't gotten the concrete answers that I would have hoped for.
Well, here's what I think. I think not about when you die, about this situation you're talking about. It's maybe you get there, Paul got there, and it's like spoilers.
Right.
It's like, you're not going to spoil, like, no, Val, I can't ruin this show for you. Like, it's,
I agree with that. I definitely think we're not meant to know for certain.
Right.
I do kind of lean towards, so Paul was very big into the multiverse theory.
Yeah.
That when you die, you just go to another universe somewhere and live another life or move along with the life you were living, and you don't even maybe know you died or something like that. I can't subscribe to that completely because I do communicate with conscious energies that do a very good job of mimicking people we knew in life. So unless they're coming back from these other universes to talk with us, that doesn't fully explain things for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, maybe one's self, for lack of a better term, can be like split up when you get over there.
Yeah, I
you can go do that. You can kind of do other things.
Yeah, I do believe there's some of that going on.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful that there's something else beyond this, because if this is it, this really sucks.
I'm 100% certain this is not it.
Wow. All right. You heard it here first, folks.
Money back guarantee, people.
Do you have it sounds like you've been to a lot of places. I like asking, I don't necessarily want to tag you as a ghost person, but ghosts people who do regular investigations, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you have like a bucket list location that you'd always, in the event that I win the lottery and I'm like, I'm going to make a whole bunch of people's dreams come true. So you'll be on the list. So do you have a bucket list location that you'd really like to do a paranormal investigation at, and why?
Yes, I would love to go to Alcatraz.
Oh,
just
okay.
because, I mean, it's Alcatraz. I've heard amazing things about that place. Winchester Mystery House is another one.
All right.
However, I met a very interesting woman recently who's a gun historian.
Yes.
So she's very well known in the history of gun world.
Yeah.
And she's done a lot of work with the Winchester House.
Yeah.
And says that the whole Sarah Winchester legend is fabricated.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Yeah. But I still want to go through the house because it's such a whacked out place that I just want to experience it.
I've been there, and yeah, it is an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
But then later, yeah, there's a San Francisco Gate, I think, article that like a long read that just lays it all out, and it's like, yeah, it's all like bullshit. The whole story, like all the stories they tell and everything, which is fine, I suppose. I think that I think places that have a lot of activity, like actual human activity, by just osmosis or whatever, develop like some kind of spirits.
Yeah, well, there's that whole thing about how collective consciousness can create entities.
Yeah. And not just that, but like, I'm sure of the millions of people that pass through the Winchester House, like every year, and then you go back like 20, 30 years or whatever. So all those people too.
Yeah.
Several of those people, like for whatever reason, their visit that day was like the worst day of their life or the best day of their life.
Yeah.
And it was like, so that's imprinted in the building. So it's like, yeah, my wife left me, and she left me fucking while we were on tour at the Winchester House. Or it's like, or I found out we were having a baby. So it's like, that kind of thing. And that's imprinted into the energy of that place. When you have so many people passing through, I think that really happens.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think just the fact that a place where people talk about paranormal things, hauntings, ghosts, whatever, that can draw things in. When we had our center, the location where we did events and classes and things, we had to regularly clear that of energies. And we actually did training investigations there all the time because we always had stuff happening. Because we talked about it so much, we became a lighthouse for whatever was out there roaming. So, and a lot of times, people carry spirits with them and aren't even aware of it. And maybe the spirit is like, oh, there's people here that can talk to me. Cool. I'm going to hang out here for a while,
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that happens at other places too, that people bring stuff with them. Talking about it creates an energy to draw more in.
Now, as a New Hampshire, paranormal investigator, seasoned New Hampshire paranormal investigator, have you been to America's Stonehenge?
Oh, of course. I've been going there since I was a kid.
It's a great place. What's your take on it as an empath medium, empathic medium? What have you picked up from your visits there?
I've picked up on Native American energy. I've picked up on the fact that the sacrificial table was used at one point for human sacrifice, but it was willing human sacrifice.
Oh, boy.
And I've heard other intuitives say the same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, for me, it was like other people talk about almost like druid type energies there. I haven't encountered that. I've encountered mostly Native Americans. Not saying it's not there, but like I had an experience a few years ago. I was there, and there's the section now that they have cleared out with all the different stones, and you can see like the celestial alignments better.
Yeah.
So I was up in one of those clearings, and I touched one of the large stones that they have. And standing probably 50 yards from me with their back to me was a very ornately dressed Native American man.
Oh wow! You saw this with your own eyes?
Yes, it was like a weird thing, almost like I touched it and the image was there, like it was associated with that, and took my hand off and it was gone.
Interesting.
Um, yeah,
Wow. All right. Whoa. I don't know what to say to that. That's why.
yeah. It to me, it was neat. It didn't feel negative in any way. It felt like a glimpse into another time.
Did you try putting your hand back on it to make it come back?
I did, and I tried to get other people to touch it without telling them why I wanted them to touch it, but it's so hard to not
Right.
that sort of thing. Like, hey, go over there and touch that stone.
It's like, come here, touch this. Yeah, it's like when you calling somebody over to drink spoiled milk.
Yeah, it's obviously there's a reason why I want them to touch it. So, you're kind of pointing it right from the start.
Yeah. It's like, does this taste funny to you?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, why'd you make me taste that?
Well, where I had the incident with my dad was not far. It was only a few miles from America's Stonehenge.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool place. Yeah, I like it a lot. I have an affinity for it, even though I do find it's a little bit like roadside attraction-y. Because it's like very of its time. It's like very like 60s, 70s kind of. It's got that vibe to it. We had the folks from Paranormal 5 on last summer. I don't know if you know who they are, but they're up in Maine. And they did a ghost. Yeah. They did a ghost hunt at America's Stonehenge.
Yes.
And they went to like different parts. And I'm like, what I would want to do is to do a ghost hunt in that building, in that old-timey building that's like has to be from the 60s or whatever. Like that building has to be decades old. And again, it's like how many people pass through this thing? Like how many, it would be an interesting experience in there just to see what you feel like when it's quiet in the middle of the night kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So let's talk about the Wyrd place. Now this is your website, but it's what is it? It's more than a website. It's an effort on your part, an endeavor, if you will. It's you're trying to sort of recapture the magic of what you were involved with when you first kind of got mixed up in the scene, so to speak. Right?
Yeah, in a way I am, because, like you said, I'm not just about ghosts. That's how it started for me. But then I got involved in the UFO stuff. I got involved in the mediumship stuff. I got involved in Reiki. It's the gamut of things. And so I was trying to find a way to kind of put it all under one umbrella.
Yeah.
I would like to have a brick and mortar space someday, but I don't know how far away that is at this point. So I'm starting with online stuff. I do an in-person empath support gathering at a library right now. But as far as in-person stuff, that's as far as it goes for me so far. But yeah, it's a place for people to go where if they are looking for somebody to talk to, if they're looking for resources in any of this strange stuff that we experience in our world, they can come to my website. And if I don't have the answer, I will find somebody that does. Or I might already know somebody that does.
Yeah. I got to pivot to a question. This got in my head. Like when I was reading about the KRI story, there was a guy who came to some of the things and then he ended up being like a murderer or something. Does that ring a bell? What was the story? What did you interact with this character? What happened? Can you recount that story? Because I remember when I read it, I was like, holy shit, this took a weird turn.
Yeah. So we used to do an event called the Psychic Sampler, where people could come in, and it was every other Sunday, I think it was the first and third Sunday of the month. And they could get a sample reading from an intuitive for $5. It'd be like a 15 or 20 minute reading.
Right.
So after a while, it became harder and harder to get intuitives who wanted to volunteer their time to do this.
Okay. Yeah.
So we would get referrals who we didn't necessarily know, but we would allow them to come in and Andy, who, kind of, I don't want to say ran the show, but he was the K in KRI.
Yeah, his name's on the building. So
right.
Yeah.
He always tested every new intuitive that came through to see how they were at reading. So there was a woman that was involved who recommended this guy, Seth, as a reader. So we said, okay, we'll give him a shot. We need somebody for this Sunday, so let's see how he does. So he came in, he did tarot readings. He wanted to be called Lex. He wasn't going by Seth. He wanted to be called Lex. And I don't think anybody there particularly liked him very much. I maintain I didn't get murder vibes from him, but
Right.
I didn't want to sit with him to get a reading. I was okay with keeping my distance. I was the one kind of, I wasn't doing readings. I was the person saying, okay, Jennifer, you're reading with Sandra, so you can go sit with Sandra now. I was doing that.
Yeah. Directing traffic.
Yeah. Andy claims that the guy wasn't a very good reader, but Andy likes to talk crap after the fact.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I trust that. Regardless of whether or not he was a good reader or not, we didn't ask him to come back. He didn't ask to come back after doing readings that one time. I don't know how many months later, there's a big news story in our area that there's a UNH student who's gone missing. And next thing you know, somebody's been arrested, and it's this guy, Seth /Lex, was charged and convicted with murdering this UNH student here in the Seacoast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was odd. That was
I can imagine. Odd. Yeah. It's very disconcerting. I don't think I've ever known a murderer.
Yeah.
Or met a murderer. I don't think I've even met a murderer. I aware?
I wish I could say the same.
Yeah.
Not an experience I want to repeat.
Yeah. Well, I like I said, I was hesitant to bring that up, but then I remembered that story when we were talking tonight, and I was like, oh, shit, I got to ask. Was he like eccentric, or was he, we're all eccentric. Look, we're in the paranormal. We're all pretty eccentric. But was he like, was he wearing a monocle and a top hat, or like, did he have a walking stick, or was he just random? Like he would, or he's normal.
He definitely had that like goth, dark vibe to him. Wearing the dark boots that, probably had a chain on his wallet or something like that, silver rings, dyed black hair. It was kind of cliche, if I can say that about a murderer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like he was a frequent customer at Hot Topic kind of thing.
Yeah.
Probably. Well, it's no Hot Topic where he is now. So
right.
Interesting. He's wearing orange. So we'll get back to the weird place. So this is a cool endeavor, and people can find out about this at the Wyrd, WYRD place.com. And what kind of stuff are you doing? You do investigations, like people can call upon you to look into stuff?
Yep, I can do investigations. I can do straight up clearings if people don't want a whole team to come into their house. I like to do, one of my specialties is real estate clearings. So for realtors who have a property that maybe isn't selling, or they just say this place has bad energy, I can go in and clear it. And in this market where houses are selling very quickly, it's pretty easy to identify the houses that maybe need a clearing because they're the ones that stay on the market for way too long. I enjoy doing that a lot. But I do readings. I can do Reiki sessions, one-on-one empath counseling. I do one-on-one mentorships for intuitive development. And then, my passion is really helping other empaths. So I have the Empaths Support and Empowerment Gathering. And I do that online on the first Tuesday of every month and in person in Epping, New Hampshire the second Tuesday of every month. And I've been doing that for 11 years now.
Oh, wow.
It's been going.
Oh, wow. And it's probably going to be too late for, this is going to come out like the end of October, maybe early November. So it's too late to plug your October stuff. But you do these regular appearances. I saw some of these libraries you're doing like Ghost Hunting 101 or
No, those are
a Halloween thing, or is that a regular thing?
Yeah. They're because of the Halloween holiday coming up. But, I've done lectures in the spring at different libraries. I try to, because I can talk about my books. I can talk about intuition. It doesn't have to be the spooky side of things all the time.
Right.
I'm hoping to maybe do like an intuition 101 class, like an in-person class at some point in the area where people can come in and practice doing things like card readings and psychometry and do different intuitive exercises in a safe space and get validation. So if somebody's unsure of their abilities and wants to practice, I want to do that. And I'm working on putting together a class for people who really are stuck in life and are ready to kind of put in the work to make big changes in their life to, for the better, clear out the crap and kind of focus on what they want using their intuitive abilities to kind of take their life to the next level. So that will be.
Don't do it to me, but how do you facilitate that? So someone comes in, they're like, I'm stuck. And what do? You talk it through with them?
Yeah. I would start with an interview process. They would fill out an application to kind of get an idea of what they're looking for and what kind of blocks they think they have, where they want to go. And then we would have an initial interview so I could get a better feeling and ask some more detailed questions about what have they tried, what works, what doesn't work, that kind of thing. And I want to kind of do it as a group thing where, we all support each other in where we're trying to go, but we're all kind of doing the same work at the same time to get ourselves to our individual places.
That makes sense. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. And that kind of covers what's next for you. But what else are you working on? You got more books coming up?
I'm working on
future adventures.
I'm working on book 5 in the series. I do want to mention that I do have a standalone for the series that is a choose your own adventure style.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
For any of the Gen Xers out there who loved the choose your own adventures, like mine is like that, but on steroids. And you get to go on a ghost hunt with the characters from my book, but you don't have to have read the series to read this book.
Yeah. I loved those books growing up. Is it hard as a writer to write a choose your own adventure, or is it easier?
It was really hard because you had to track the different threads.
Okay, yeah.
And create the choices. So It was very, very challenging. And I started writing it as just a fun thing for me to challenge myself with, because I tend to get very caught up in one project and then it becomes work and then I don't like it.
I hear you. Yeah.
So I need to step away and do writing in a way that's fun for me. So I'm like, I loved Choose Your Own. Let's just try this. And it was only for myself. But then it got to the point where I'm like, this is kind of cool. I think other people might like to read this. So,
and you probably had to read some of those again to get the mechanics of it down. Because I'm trying to remember. I remember how it worked. Like you got to go, go to page this, or go to page that, and then the next thing goes, and then it's like, you got to go to this. So, but I don't. Yeah, I'm sure the mechanics of it are super fucking complicated.
Yeah, I created a map of all the different choices.
Okay,
and I actually didn't read any of the old books until after I'd finished mine.
Oh, wow.
And that was when I went, oh, geez, wow, yeah, this is really on steroids compared to the old books. because I put so many more choices into it than we had for them back then. But I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, no, I know. I see what you mean. Yeah. I bet you, like, yeah, looking back on it, I bet like the adventure was like 5 choices or whatever. It was like not even, so yeah, they were fun books. They were that was like, as a young reader, those, like, I was hooked on those and read like all of them. And so it's probably why I am, a good reader now or whatever, good writer and everything. So,
so that's my books. I do have a workbook for empaths who want to develop their intuition at their own pace.
Yeah.
That's only available on, like, through my website, through my printer. I don't have that for sale on, like, any of the major retailers, but all my other books are available, like, on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you can buy books. You can find my series and the Choose Your Own Adventure, or the Choose Your Fate. Legally I can't call it a Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yes. For anyone from the Choose Your Own Adventure company.
Yeah, no.
We are not. We're talking about Choose Your Own Fate.
Yeah.
Completely different thing.
Choose Your Fate.
Choose Your Fate. Yeah.
But yeah.
Do they still make those? They must still make those books.
No, I don't think they do. Because, like, I had to order one because, like, I couldn't find one in the bookstores.
That's ridiculous. They need to bring those back. They were awesome.
Well,
man,
it's called a video game now, unfortunately.
It should be good for this new generation because they're like little TikTok videos.
I mean, you
read a little bit, and then you skip, and then you read a little bit more, and then you skip around. So it's perfect for our attention deprived youth of the world today. So I had like one last question for you.
Okay.
These are kind of like bonuses for the people because they get to the what's next for you, and they're like, well, fuck that, I'm going to the next show. So it's like, well, you miss out on the bonus part.
Yeah.
But when you were doing these things, I guess kind of paint a little picture for me of like, so you and Andy and Mike, you guys are kind of the crew, and you're like running the show, and you are the KRI.
Yep.
But then there's people who are sort of like on the periphery. People can't see this, but like I'm doing sort of an outer circle. They're the clientele, if you will. They are the aficionados. They are the curious and the. So I guess what were those folks like? And did they come back I'm sure it varied. Some did, some didn't come back on a regular basis. Some were like one and done. Did people come to argue with you about shit? So give me a little bit of a thumbnail on sort of what that experience was like, dealing as a sort of as a representative of the strange and unusual, dealing with the general public, if you will.
Yeah.
I think
I am pretty much an expert in knowing how to facilitate groups of unique personalities. At this point, we had people from all walks of life coming in, all ages coming in, all interests coming in. You had people that would come in that believed they had the most amazing UFO encounter, not knowing that Mike Stevens is sitting right there, who's really had some mind-blowing encounters. You had some of the most humble and lovely people coming in. A lot of them did come back, over and over again, because we did have kind of curated sections. We had the spiritual,
right.
We had the UFO, we had the paranormal. So it was interesting when the people would cross over. They would start coming for a spiritual event, and they would cross over and maybe attend social saucers, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I didn't realize I had a UFO encounter. That's what that was. Right. We saw friendships form. People became best friends from coming to events and meeting new people. We had people that ended up becoming teachers for us. So they learned from us, then we learned from them. It was, the community was pretty amazing. And it's the thing I miss most about that place. And that's why I'm trying to create my Wyrd place.
To bring it back.
Yeah. And try to keep it alive as much as I can, because it was special. It's very special.
It sounds very cool. And like I said, when I was reading about it, I was like, this is, I think it was kind of going on around. I was involved in the scene, but I I didn't know this was all going on around the seacoast. It was like, oh shit, I would have liked to have gotten mixed up with these cats. It's sort of fun. So if the Wyrd place ever sort of gets up and running as a physical institute, I'd love to mix it up with y'all.
Yeah, I will definitely let you know.
With all that said, it's been a really fun time talking to you, Val. It's been really cool. Too. And I've enjoyed the conversation, and we're very close. So I have a feeling our paths will cross at some point sooner rather than later, if not at the very latest at Exeter next year, I imagine. But
yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully sometime before then. And so have a happy Halloween and and the rest of the year. Hopefully it all works out well for you. And thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.